we're going to officially start. So welcome everybody for joining us for our third Q&A session. So I'm going to set up some quick ground rules and introductions, and then we'll take it from there. First, we have two of our Chialisp experts this morning in Pacific time. And my name is Efficient, also known as Richard Zhao, and I'm the moderator for today for the Q&A sessions. Because it's just easier for us, please use the Q&A button to ask questions so we can answer accordingly. And then if after this Q&A session you have any follow-up, feel free to join our Keybase and join the Chialisp channel and ask questions there. We're actively watching it, and we want to make sure we answer your questions as timely fashion as possible. With that, I'm going to let Matt and Matt introduce themselves. So one of you start.
Hi, I'm Matt H, and I write Chialisp smart contracts.
Hi, I'm also Matt H, and I also write Chialisp smart contracts. For our purposes within the company, whenever we're referring to us, we refer to me as my Keybase username, Quexington. So that might be helpful during this.
Cool. So we have our first question. So is there any way to create a blockchain channel in Chia main network?
Okay, I was looking at this question. I think they mean a payment channel.
Right.
And while we have written down internally how we think we'd do that, there is no reference code for payment channels yet, but it is on the roadmap.
Okay. So there's also the follow-up question similar. I'm assuming he's talking about payment channel as well, because I think there's two people who said this. Is there any stable code?
The same question from two different people.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, cool. So hopefully that answers that question. If we did not answer what you meant to ask, feel free to do a follow-up question. We're pretty open about, just keep on talking until everybody's questions are answered this morning. So, and in the meantime, when there aren't ongoing questions, I get to do trivia questions or other types of questions to people. So I actually enjoyed this part. So if you haven't looked at the other Q&A sessions, which I'm guessing you haven't, I might recycle some of the questions. And if you have seen them, I'm sorry, because I'm running out of material here. So so one of the things that I noticed when I started looking at Chialisp is that it's very, very difficult to understand just in the beginning. And I like to hear from both these Chialisp experts, what was the key moment? What was the insight that made you unlock going, I finally get it. I get how Chialisp works, and I understand the power of Chialisp. We'll start with Matt Hoff first, or Quexington.
Yeah, so if you haven't watched previous Q&As, I'm from the community, so I learned everything basically from Matt Howard and stuff that he's put out there. So yeah, I spent a lot of time crawling through chialisp.com, but it didn't really click for me like right away, because Lisp syntax is new, and it's kind of hard to see like why would anyone choose this for a programming language. But I made a syntax highlighter for Atom, and when I was doing that, the way that it does the syntax highlighting is it's very recursive, where you define something and then you can use that definition in other definitions so that it can mark all of the things properly, and it's very recursive in that way. And then doing that, I think, kind of helped me understand the kind of recursiveness of the language as a whole, and how to think about it as lots of things inside other things. So that was one of the things that helped click it for me.
You had to write a whole programmatic parser to understand our language. So I've answered this in the last stream, but I'll answer it again. When I first started working on Chialisp, it was very new, and in fact, it wasn't even Chialisp; it was just CLVM at that point. And I was sat down, and I was thinking, "What is this? What am I doing here?" But what sort of clicked for me once I started getting small programs, I started with really small toy programs. I think the first recursive program I wrote was, I think it's in chialisp.com. It was the squaring every number in a list program. And so that helped me understand how Chialisp worked. But in terms of how it fit together into the Chia blockchain, it wasn't until I heard Bram say one day in the office, we don't have smart contracts, we have smart coins, that the sort of light bulb appeared. And I was like, oh. And then you sort of understand the context of where and when the code is running, and that also gives you a why. Once you understand that, that was really what set it going for me.
Cool. So I haven't had my light bulb moment. I will tell people that. I'm also not a professional programmer, so I think it will take me a little longer. But one of the things I'll have to say is, having seen the challenges, a lot of the Chialisp developers in our company thought it was important to create these videos. This is why we create those videos. We were trying to find a way to unlock some of this knowledge so the wider community can get this. As we continue down this path, I am sure we're going to find other ways to express it, and maybe the community will have suggestions on how to express it, and we will definitely do follow-up documentation and videos to help you unlock, the knowledge necessary to really, get it. I have seen some great things done in Chialisp. I just haven't quite figured it out myself how to contextualize. So trust me when I say everybody will have different speeds of doing this, and the Chialisp programmers within the company themselves had over a year's head start. So anyway, let's look at a question here. In the docs, it's mentioned also, since all transactions are returned as a single list of conditions, your conditions can potentially rely on announcements from other transactions. Why potentially and not always?
All right, I can take this one. So if the announcement you're relying on is not part of your spend bundle, that's quite risky, because the farmer could choose not to include their transaction or not to include your transaction. And then if you're relying on that spend and you're not in the same block as them, that's not going to go through. So you potentially could do it, but it's a little bit risky. Especially, it's more risky than if what you're relying on is in the same spend bundle as, it's all packaged together in one spend bundle.
Cool, thanks. So, Matt Howard, I think for some people, getting sample code is the best way of learning things. And right now, our biggest, hugest sample code is the pool plot NFT. Probably not the first thing to digest. Do you have suggestions of what order of samples people should look at that you know of right now in a repository, or maybe things that you think is going to come up that will be helpful for people to, step by step get into this?
So Quexington and myself are aligned in that we both think that all of the tutorials we do, we try and give examples in them. We really want the tutorials on chialisp.com to be to have the sample code that people are looking for. In terms of reference material that's being used, I think Quexington, you told me that you learned a lot by studying the colored coin implementation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in our repository in Chia blockchain, in the Chia folder, wallets, puzzles, we actually have a big folder full of puzzles, and some of those are actually being used by the GUI, but I think about half of them are just there as reference material.
Yeah, just add on to that, studying the colored coins thing. That was just kind of something that I picked for myself because it sounded like a cool application. So I just went in and started reading the puzzle code, and I gave up multiple times. Like, I was just like, no, this is impossible. I don't understand this. But if you come to Chialisp and ask questions, I can now answer all of those questions. But it's a great puzzle for looking at to kind of shift your understanding of kind of how Chia works compared to maybe other blockchains, because there's this fun trick that we may or may not still have later, where you assert announcements from your like you make like a circle of announcements to make sure that everything. It's even hard to explain, but like it's a really good example of how announcements are really powerful, and also how the whole lineage checking of like I can assert that my parent is a thing, therefore I am a thing, therefore my neighbor is a thing, and all sorts of stuff. So
I feel like we have a whole white paper's worth of maths just in the code comments of the colored coins.
oh yeah, there's like it's the whole thing. Yeah. So yeah, I would recommend going in there and breaking that down, or any of the other puzzles. Really, just pick one that you're interested in and just try to spend the time to make sure you fully understand how it works. Because even in that one, I was skipping a lot of things. I was like, okay, I think I kind of understand what currying does, but yeah, it's really worthwhile to fully understand everything that's going on in there.
Okay, so I guess it's a little time for a little fun human trivia. For those who didn't watch yesterday's, actually, let's assume everybody's watched previous Q&A, so I can put you guys on the spot again. Can you tell a little bit of trivia about yourself that you think nobody will know about you, and can't recycle any previous ones you used in Q&A?
We've got a real question. Can we do the technical question?
Yeah, let's do the technical question first. Okay. So in the mempool spends are in one single bundle. Do they own the single? Let me read this before I read it out loud. I think they're asking, can the spend bundle mainly ensure things are definitely spent in the same block in the mempools?
I think I've got the feeling of that question. The way that it works is a spend bundle is a collection of coins that you want to spend. And if you sent off all of those coins as individual spend bundles, they might not get included all together. But if you wrap them up in a spend bundle, that guarantees that as a unit, all of those coins will get spent together. So in the mempool, it has a collection of spend bundles that it will include. So you're asking about announcements between spend bundles. If you're relying on somebody else's spend bundle, you can't guarantee that you're going to go into the same block as them. You can only guarantee that if you're in the same spend bundle.
One thing I would also want to clarify is that being in the same like spend bundle object does not necessarily guarantee that they go together. You have to make sure that they are secured by a signature that is aggregated together from both of them, or announcements between each other. It is very possible if you have no signatures or announcements for nodes to separate a spend bundle. So it's just, yeah, just make sure that I thought that was a thing for a long time. I thought I could just push a spend bundle and no one could break it, but no, very important to secure your things with signatures, tie it all together somehow.
There are some caveats as well. Like if you send a spend bundle and then also send one of those coins as an individual spend, but that's fine print. I think the big picture answer we've got.
Okay, so save them from having to answer embarrassing questions from me by asking more questions. Otherwise, I'll go to the trivia now. So anyway, we'll start with question 10. Some new trivia.
New trivia. I don't know. I like to cook. I think I'm a pretty good chef.
Has it been externally validated by people?
I cook for my girlfriend and she likes it, so.
Oh, there you go. That's the most important person, honestly. So there you go. Cool. So, and by the way, yeah, what was your yesterday's trivia that you answered? Just so people know.
That I'm a runner. I like to run, and I one day hope to be a marathon runner, but I cannot quite say that yet.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay, Matt Howard, what's your trivia?
My new trivia.
Yes, new trivia.
That I collect bootleg cassettes and records. So I had this one arrive today. This is a collection of Sisters of Mercy live rarities, and there's a goth band called The Mission, and this is some of their demo materials. So I'm pretty happy with that.
Nice. Okay, I will participate myself because, you know, I don't want them to feel like I'm just trying to get out of it. I've been in 2 Q&As already, so I actually done this twice already. So I think the first one I talked about how I'm not from the blockchain industry. Most of my career has been in the gaming industry, but as you notice, gaming and blockchain is merging pretty quickly with GameFi and Metaverse, the cool buzzwords of the year. But I've been doing it for 25 some years, so I guess I've been working on it a lot longer. The second trivia was what kind of music did I listen to? Is my favorite music I like listening to is Taylor Swift when I'm in the mood of listening to some cool music. And I tell people I'm an OG Taylor Swift fan. And then today's trivia, a little bit related to Taylor Swift, is why do I like Taylor Swift is because I actually like to country line dance. And country line dancing, there's a lot of country music, obviously. And Taylor Swift was originally a country music star. So that's how I got into her music. So that's why I'm an OG Taylor Swift fan. And now you know my third bit of trivia for this. So let's get back to Chialisp. I just wanted you guys to kind of get a flavor of us as being human beings and not just, Chia 24/7. Quexington, I'm going to assume people did not look at the other videos. So I would love for you to tell a little bit about what potential problem is there in the Piggybank sample, and, you know, kind of give people some enlightenment of a really interesting story around that.
So like I said in the last video, it's very important that you have people check on your code, try to find attacks that they could pull on it before you release it into the wild, because again, this is a blockchain, there's no central authority, no one's going to hand you your money back. So very important that you make sure that you're secure with your rules before you put it out there. The Piggybank coin, one attack that I didn't see when I made it was something that we've dubbed the flash loan from God attack, which is basically you kind of have to assume that whoever is using your coin has infinite money, because what they can do is they can take a flash loan, they can fill up the savings goal of their piggy bank. If you didn't watch the piggy bank video, basically you're not allowed to withdraw any money until you've reached a certain goal, but they can just fill up their piggy bank entirely. They can withdraw the money that they had in there, and then they can return the flash loan. So basically they can just withdraw the funds early. So it kind of makes it just like some extra steps just as regular money, like if you can just get it right away. But that can be solved by adding a assert relative time, or assert relative block height to of 1 to the conditions as output, and then the flash loan doesn't work anymore.
I've actually patched my video to include that, because you should put in the description of the video.
Patching mine is a little bit harder because I got to do it throughout all of them.
So as a related question, what do you suggest people do to ensure they have better, security around their, smart coins? What best practices you guys found so far in, that helps with trying to mitigate this stuff? Obviously, the tutorial wasn't meant to be all inclusive to solve all those problems, but, for just, for people who are going to really do this, live one day, what would you recommend the process is?
Firstly, be conscious of what the common security flaws or attacks that might exist. Familiarize yourself with that. We have in the documentation a security page, so study that and understand. I like to say that you should think, you should write puzzles with the understanding that anyone can try to spend it and everyone's going to try and mess you up and steal your money. So design with that in mind. And the code is open source and should be designed so that it's secure even if people read your code. So share your code and have people read it and feedback to you. Like Quexington was saying, the Piggybank example we were pretty happy with, and then it was actually Bram that spotted the flash loan from God, So just have other people read your code. Maybe not actually Bram. I think he might be a bit too busy to review your application, but somebody.
We'll happily take a look at it in #Chialisp. So
Yeah, at least in the early stages of Chialisp development ecosystem, I am 100% sure that we will have some bandwidth to help people look at their code and dApps. But we're hoping there will be expertise going down the line, and you being the first generation of Chialisp programmers will help the next generation as people come on board. So we have a live question here that's interesting. This particular person says, we are working on a channel connecting scrap suppliers and buyers with Hyperledger Fabric on IBM blockchain. The channel consists of organizations, certifying authorities, logistic companies, shippers, and inspection agencies. Can this be done on Chia network?
So we're building up a technology called DIDs, which is very good at this, representing relationships between identities. So I think that the DIDs will be a good solution to the product application that you're building. Yes, it can be done on Chia.
So this segues into an interesting question, because right now there's very little of reference materials on how to do things, and we have mentioned a few things that we will want to do. You want to give a little prelude of some of the things coming down the pipe besides the plot NFT that's already been done, and also the singleton that's related to that, so that people get an idea of what Chia is going to come in the next few months, so that people can grok better our little bit Chialisp roadmap a bit.
Okay, so on the pipeline we have the next generation of colored coins, and after that we're going to be doing another iteration on DIDs, because while we were working on singletons and DIDs, which are both well, DIDs are kind of singleton, we've sort of realized that we can redesign a lot of the code that we'd written to be more interoperable with singletons. So an example of this is rewriting rate limited to support messages from identities, from distributed identities. And once you start building up that ecosystem of cross compatibility, that'll be very powerful. So that's one thing. And I think the other major thing that I didn't mention in the last time I was asked this question is that we're building up more tools for locking up money for financial uses. Custody solutions, I think, is what we're supposed to call those. But those are the two main immediate projects in development, I think.
Yeah. And one of the things I should preface, having done the plot NFTs with the singletons, help the Chia development team really understands, reinterpret some of the stuff that they did prior to mainnet launch, that they are now trying to refactor into these things. So the original DID, the original rate limited wallet and color coins, they can still work. So there's nothing wrong with them. It's just they thought of better things to do now with it, and they want to release that into the ecosystem. And you will find that a lot yourselves as you start writing some simple Chialisp program. You'll find certain design patterns and methodologies that, oh, I could do this better, and you can iterate. And we're hoping this early start for the ecosystem, people will start seeing those, and you guys are help define some of those design patterns. So somebody asked in chat, can you please provide the link to the DID documentation? Can you answer that in chat, Matt, if you can find it?
mean, there's not much point us writing documentation because the code is changing. So any documentation we write will be very out of date very quickly. I did give a talk, which you can look up. I'll find the link because I gave a talk about how DIDs were working.
I'll find it for you. I know where it is.
Okay, so we'll drop a link to a talk I gave about DIDs, but in terms of like a write-up on chialisp.com, that'll be after the code is finalized.
Okay. And I believe, can you find the link of the DID code, the original one that would did it get launched in mainnet? It did, right?
DID never got launched. Colored Coins got launched.
Colored Coin. Okay, sorry. Yeah.
But it's all in the same folder. It's all in the Chia wallet puzzles.
It's in that folder that we were talking about for reference code, yeah.
Okay. So I thought I knew where the DID video was, but maybe Matt, you can find it. Sorry. it's on
the Matt Howard YouTube channel.
That's why. I was like
and subscribe.
I was like, it's not on the Chialisp one. We need to fix that.
I'm going for YouTube play button status. So please like and subscribe.
What do you need to get to that status?
I think the first one is like 100,000.
Oh,
right.
First one.
Wow. Good luck. I don't think even Chia's gotten there yet.
Here we go. Here's a talk.
Yeah. Cool. Quexington, are you going to be a YouTube star? I think you can.
Not unless someone makes me a YouTube star. I don't know. A meteor strike. I don't know. Anything could happen, but I'm not planning on it. It's not in the cards for me.
I think a lot of people have been giving praise on your Piggybank video tutorials, by the way. So
I appreciate it. I do kind of want to. Me and Matt talked about this briefly. I kind of want to do a follow-up, like series of okay, now let's do it like Singleton Piggybank. Let's do it like Kickstarter where you can pledge, but if we don't reach the goal, you can withdraw your funds. So maybe do like a more complex second version. But that would be cool.
That would be cool. Definitely. And this will not be the only set of Q&As we will have. Well, I think we're going to do a monthly cadence AMA specifically catered to Chialisp now that we're really jumpstarting this ecosystem. But stay tuned on that. Just come to our Keybase channel, look at our announcements. We'll definitely post it there. So anyway, since we're a little light this morning on participants and questions, I'll continue with my fun questions to the team here to kind of fill the time here. So both of you must have some ideas what you'd love to see personally as dApps using the Chia blockchain. Do you have some ideas you want to share that you would love to see the community do?
Do you want to go first, Matt, or shall I?
Yeah, it's not a lot. This game yesterday too. I mean, games are cool. I would love to play games on Chia. You play it on other blockchains, but why would I want to do that? I want to play it on this blockchain. So that would be fun. And then I also said atomic swaps between other currencies would be kind of cool as well. That'd be a fun thing, so people don't just have to go. There's not a lot of things to do with Chia right now. If you could solve it for other cryptos, that'd be fun, I think. So
yeah, like Quexington said, for me, I'm always dreaming about what games could be designed with the coin system. I have like a notebook full of like ideas for how you could design games that take unique advantage of Chia. But I think the stuff we need is a bit more boring. But I like thinking about the games.
So I love that you both love the games. I'm just curious because I've seen this happen a lot. Industries pick up on a buzzword and they say, okay, we're going to blockchain everything. We're going to AI everything. We're going to metaverse everything. What do you picture is like the right use of the blockchain for games and the wrong use for the blockchain or at least for Chia blockchain to use? Because, there are things that you shouldn't do on the blockchain for sure. But I think sometimes for what I'll call blockchain theater, everybody wants to smack blockchain or whatever, crypto, blah, blah, blah. So
I have some strong opinions here, but I don't know if I'll get in trouble for running my mouth.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
I mean,
Go.
the most obvious use, right, is like digital items. Like this is a Team Fortress 2 mug. You look at the Steam marketplace, for example, where you have these items that you can buy and sell for money. That's basically what people should be trying to build with game NFTs. Like there's no reason that Counter-Strike gun skins could not be sold for Chia, you know? So that's one use. As much as I like thinking about having state on the chain, that's quite costly. You're much better to do, if you want to build that sort of thing, you'd be much better to do it. So it's like a layer 2 solution where it all happens and then you sort of checkpoint the state as a commitment. So actually, this is a really boring engineer answer. But, Matt, you go.
Oh no, yeah, it's not great for things that you need like a lot of messaging involved. Like you're not going to want to send a bunch of messages to all of the participants every single time. You don't want all of them to have a bunch of coins to keep track of. You want to keep it kind of as small as possible, but it's really great for holding on to providing ownership of things and holding on to commitments of things. So yeah, like you said, a layer 2 would probably be really better, where you have all of this stuff happen off chain, but the chain is just responsible for making sure that all of the stuff that happens off chain is honest. So that's kind of how you want to think about it: is extract as much away from the blockchain as you can, but you can use the blockchain as this ultimate source of truth if you need to.
So out of curiosity, do you think that people need to create a layer 2 solution just for NFTs? The one of the reasons I ask is the latest craze for NFTs was that the crazy cats, stoner cats. Stoner cats overwhelmed the ETH network for about a day and a half, where 7,000, I think it was 7,000 requests to buy stoner cats came in, and of course it didn't work out so well. Couldn't handle that load. The ideas that you guys mentioned could cause waves of that when there's a new item posted onto the Unreal store or the Steam store. What's your thoughts on that?
Both is fine. Layer 1 trading is sort of more raw and real, but layer 2 solves a real problem. I don't think layer 2 gets rid of layer 1. They're both valid. They can and should coexist.
Yeah.
We've got a question.
Oh yeah, I was just I'm gonna say NFT. I think our blockchain 7,000. If it was 7,000, I think it wouldn't get bricked for a day. I think we could handle that relatively easily. We probably have a few full blocks, but and then NFTs also in particular, like, I mean, that scenario where everyone's trying to buy all of them at one time, I understand that you'd want a layer 2 solution for that, but NFTs for most part, you're not like doing rapid transactions of those. You're not like swapping those back and forth all the time. So I mean, layer 2 for them definitely could exist, but as far as most people are just holding on to those things. So
I think our cross-block compression will do a pretty good job of handling that, because
yeah,
if everyone's trying to buy the same type of token or token that uses the same base code, that'll get optimized really nicely with our cross-block compression.
Okay, cool. So with our programmable money, do you think it's possible to do some other interesting things in the gaming universe that, besides just NFTs, just off the top of your head, if you're thinking about it?
Don't make me talk about metaverse. Don't.
Yes, do it. Do it.
I think it's so silly because, okay, you could have a house in RuneScape in 2008 or 2009, whenever they put that in, okay? Owning a plot of land in a digital space, it's not real. And it's not decentralized, because you can only access that land if you're going through a server. So why is it on the blockchain in the first place? It's such a silly use case, in my opinion. Please don't get mad.
I will
think
counter this though. I will counter this. If you let's say partner up with Nike and you buy Nike virtual shoes, and you make an API where people can actually integrate your Nike shoes in different games, I think that is a great use case. So I agree with you. It depends what.
Yeah, but that's like I was saying with the Counter-Strike gun skins, right? That's different than owning a plot of land in the metaverse.
But you can say, you can build that up into one day where this house is an item that is usable in multiple games. Again, it's a little far stretch right now, I know, but you never know. One day,
I'm not feeling it, man. That's what I'll say. I'm not feeling it.
So anyway,
one thing that I just had some just random curiosity about recently that I thought was weirdly good adapted to blockchain is like play by email games is kind of a weird thing. I don't know if you ever heard of that, but
yep.
I think it'd be really good
I've
for
used to play those.
Yeah, it'd be good for a blockchain because you got like all these participants, they got to do their own thing and they can just do it per block because the stage just has to keep moving regardless of whether or not people's. So that's just something that I thought about was an interesting maybe use case of a blockchain.
Yeah, there's a lot of them out there. And as a matter of fact, I used to play a few of them. I actually find those great because you spend a lot of time offline thinking about, it's mostly strategy type games. Like, what strategy you do and what have you. And there's turn-based, web-based games as well that like, turns like once a day kind of things. Those are great things as well, in my opinion, to do. So great insights there. Awesome. So, because I love GameFi, I love metaverse stuff. So I'll continue on this little thing because I have two great Chialisp experts to talk about that. And one day I hope to see some of this stuff. One of the things that a lot of people like to do is buy a skin that's rare, hold on to it for a while, and it becomes even rarer, and then resell it. Is this something that can be done with Chialisp? And how would they go about doing it? Just so people get an idea of, a use case.
Okay, so that's effectively the same as art NFTs, really. So we do not have an implementation of art NFTs at the moment, but we do have the singleton layer, which enforces the property of uniqueness that you want an NFT to have. So it's really not a far step from, if somebody is interested, or we're going to do this ourselves almost certainly as well, is develop on top of the singleton layer an NFT art layer, and then that can be your digital asset that you hold on to and resell as an investment.
Okay, so these don't exist yet. What's your suggestion? Should people wait for the Chia team to develop the art NFT or create their own? There's in other blockchains, there's specific EIPs are that I'm using Ethereum right now, standards to file to create these type of NFTs. They actually, I think on Ethereum there's two. What's the suggestion for the community here and how to move forward with doing things?
Well, if they use the singleton layer, they already are guaranteed some cross compatibility of using that standard. But people are welcome to develop their own implementation or to wait until we get around to it. It depends how impatient they are.
Okay.
I would say that we're welcome to see it if you make it. Like we would love to see it. We can definitely also help out a lot of probably like optimization stuff is very subtle and weird, and NFTs are somewhat large. So it would be yeah, come tell us about it because we would love to. It can be a kind of a tandem thing. It doesn't have to be one or the other. Like you can help us, we can help you.
You heard it here. If you really want to do an art NFT, come to the Chialisp channel and let us know, and we'll help you out as best we can. We're not gonna do all the coding for you though, so just to be very clear. So we'll do code reviews. So awesome. So so we haven't had a lot more other questions. So instead of me occupying everything on GameFi and Metaverse, let's switch into more traditional DeFi session. Let's talk about what typical DeFi do you think applications are really useful that's only can be done, well, I would say be done better on Chialisp versus, let's say, Ethereum. Sorry, we gotta compare. We're trying not to knock anybody, but we have to do
don't
comparison.
say their name around these parts.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Bram has quite a long blog post up on the Chia website about miner extracted value, which is a common problem that haunts Ethereum DeFi that we solve pretty trivially. So that's one that springs to mind.
Yeah, and I kind of brought this up yesterday as well, but just the whole decentralization of it. Matt has a whole video on it. It's great, but like identities, in Ethereum, you have a smart contract that you have to, send a request to get an identity back. But in Chia, you can just make your own identity. You can just print it yourself. You don't need to rely on anybody else to do it. You can just conform to a standard so that people recognize you as that identity. And you can do that with any kind of application. It's just kind of an inherent benefit that Chia has, where instead of having this centralized entity that everything makes requests and gets responses from, you can just make it yourself. You just do it yourself and conforming to some standard, and it should work in pretty much the same way.
Okay, so what do you guys think about staking? And I'm not talking about proof of stake. We're talking about just there are DeFi apps where you lock up some coins for a while, and then you'll get a small little interest, and then they can use those coins to be loaned to others. Is that something that's possible on Chialisp?
Probably. I'm an engineer, not an economics man. So every so often people ask me questions about the finances of everything, and it's like, I don't know, dude, I just write code. But yeah, we can probably do that.
Yeah, speaking of the DeFi thing, that was another thing. I don't know why I forgot about that, but that's something like I said, I'm kind of new to the cryptocurrency space in general, and I hadn't heard a lot about it, and I researched it somewhat recently, and I'm just really excited to see stuff like that pop up on Chia. I think it's a really good application that Chia has. One interesting thing that would be fun to work on would be like flash loans. Just the idea of, like, it's a really fun project in Chia, because like when you have a coin that anyone can spend, but you have to assert that it comes back to you, is a very fun project, I think.
I think we as we build more stuff, we keep finding that the depth of the design of Chia is much further than we thought, and we keep finding things that I think we're aware of a number of rabbit holes internally that we're waiting for the community to find out about and start exploring, because we only have so much time to explore these rabbit holes. But the depth of what's possible in Chia and what like we're good at, we keep surprising ourselves. So when the community catches up to that, that'll be exciting.
Well, why don't you give a preview? Why don't you mention a rabbit hole that the community should look into if they're really interested in deep rabbit holes?
Well, for example, one that I've been thinking a lot about recently is how far can you take the concept of inner puzzles? And that's not something I've seen the community talk about at all. Like, we've only done 2 layers of inner puzzles, but you can have infinite layers of inner puzzles. What does that look like? What sort of crazy things can you build with infinite inner puzzles, right? That is nuts.
Yeah. There could be a whole dedicated application that kind of just like takes a bunch of different smart coins and just is like, all right, you want a smart coin that's all of these, and just sticks it all together.
One thing I think the community has got a little bit of excitement about is our offer files, and I've seen some cool projects that have caught onto that, and that is definitely something that Chia excels at that is for sure a design rabbit hole. I think we're only scratching the surface of offer files. I think offer files, there's a good chance that that could turn out to be like the unique selling point of Chia that really gets the public going, I think.
A lot of people have been talking about voting too, and that's something that Chia would be really good at, because again, you can just print your own stuff for it. You don't need to go to some. I mean, I guess in voting you might want a centralized thing determining who can vote on something, but that can all be done with the IDs. So there's all sorts of. I think DAO is the word. DAO is the thing.
DAOs, yep.
So yeah, that's another whole rabbit hole as well.
Yeah, DIDs. This is the one that we're pursuing internally the most right now, but building up strong identities on the blockchain with DIDs, once the concept of a person on the blockchain is more than just a set of keys, once that sense of identity is a strong, like, firm object, and things are like interoperable with it, that'll lead to some cool stuff, I think.
Cool. Just out of curiosity, you said it could be infinite inner puzzles. Technically, it can't be infinite, right? Because there's a cost limit, or can it really be infinite if done right?
Okay, yeah. You know, we live in a finite universe. Nothing is infinite. But it can be pushed to a very absurd place, I guess, is my point.
No problem. Just want to clarify and make sure there isn't true infinity there. So, okay, cool. So we're about 10 minutes left. I want to make sure if you had any last minute questions you were holding out, that you guys have a chance to ask it now, because we will end on the hour. So with that, since there's still been a little slow, we'll continue with my role of asking other questions to folks here. So Howard, if you didn't work, oh wait, we have a real question, so let's answer that instead. If the person has understood correctly, each coin only has the puzzle hash, not the puzzle itself. The spender has to provide the puzzle that matches the hash. Is the actual puzzle stored on chain anywhere, or does that have to track off chain to be able to spend the coin?
So you've understood it correctly. It is assumed that as you understand, you have to reveal the puzzle to have it be spent. This can actually act as security, because if someone doesn't know what the puzzle hash is, that gives it some security, at least until the first time it's tried to be spent. But yes, that you can leave yourself clues to reconstruct the puzzle hash. We do this with the singletons. They leave clues for potential future versions of yourself, so you can help recreate the puzzle hash. But it's something that you should be aware of when designing, is what state is visible and known and can be inferred. There's a lot of inference when it comes to puzzle hashes. But yes, it's not intrinsically stored on chain. There's a lot of, that's what the wallet software does for the most part.
And I would also point out that it does get stored on chain after the fact. So you can't just keep logging up the same puzzle hash and expect it to be hidden. It does get stored on the chain after the fact, although not necessarily verbatim, because eventually we're going to have robust compression that gets rid of all of that. So, but yeah, it is stored there eventually. But so that's one trick that you can do to kind of clue yourself in to a puzzle hash. Like a wallet might need to figure out a puzzle hash, but there may be stuff curried into the puzzle that makes it unique every time. And so the previous parent, when it reveals its solution and its puzzle, it can include extra information that isn't relevant to the puzzle, but gives a clue to the next puzzle's puzzle, the next coin's puzzle. So that's an interesting trick, is being able to, for the purposes of wallets being able to track these coins, it's interesting to think about what information might I want to reveal in the puzzle that is not relevant to the actual spend.
That was a good question.
Yeah, that was a good question. Yeah. So awesome. What are things that you think, on the flip side? Well, we have another one. So cool. Regarding DeFi, to create an Oracle, could it work if price would be available off chain, but Oracle coin could be spent on every block and just create an announcement and confirm the price for validity. Other coins would then have to provide a price and a solution and then double check by checking the announcement from the Oracle coin.
Yes. Our oracles will be coins, and it is kind of expected that when you want to hear something from that oracle, it will get spent. So you don't have to spend it every block, but you could make it so that anybody could spend that oracle coin to get the announcement. Or there's a few ways you could lock up the security there. But yes, basically you've got it. An oracle coin that makes an announcement is the way to do that thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just add, although I'm having a brain fire on what I was going to add. Oh yeah, you may not want to. It doesn't have to be spent every block, but there's also no way to guarantee that it gets spent every block if that's how you want to do it. But an interesting kind of way that it might work is that when it's creating an announcement that all these other coins use and can't be spent without. And so if your Oracle is popular enough, nodes will want to include it every block because that means they get to include all of these other transactions that use it. So that's an interesting thing to think about, is the fee market there, and how nodes might, like if you have a popular enough Oracle, it will probably be in every block because every node is going to want to include that, so it can include the whole tree of transactions that it's allowing.
Another great question.
There's also games you'll want to play where the actual specific puzzle hash is going to be changing. So you'll want to do a puzzle hash announcement, but you're going to have to be currying the mod there to recreate that puzzle. If you don't know what those words mean, look up our currying tutorial, because you'll need to do currying for what you're trying to do.
Currying is very important. It's a very important concept to understand.
So cool. We have 5 minutes left. So if you have any last minute questions, please ask it now. Otherwise, you can always go on to Keybase and ask them in the Chialisp channel afterwards. So no problem there. No rush that you have to do it this morning. So one last, I would say, big question for you, Matt, since you have some familiarity with Solidity. What things are the hardest things for people coming from Solidity to Chialisp that they have to kind of reorient themselves to really understand Chialisp so that they can be a successful Chialisp programmer?
State. It's state. I see this a lot where people will want to put some information into a coin and then get it out. No, the coin is the information. That okay, how do I phrase this? There is one like unit of state on the blockchain ever, and that is your coin. And when you want to update your state, you have to spend your coin. And when people come from Ethereum, they maybe don't take the time to look at how our coin model works, and they start trying to write Chialisp that is doing the same things that they were doing in Solidity. And while we can do everything that Solidity can do, if you try and do it in the same way that Solidity does it, you're going to have a bad time. So please be aware of the coin model.
Cool, great. So we have about 3 minutes left. I'm gonna start doing trivia again since I am running out of Chialisp questions. So since I answered what music I like listening to, Matt Howard in Lexington, you didn't get to answer that. Well, you sort of dived into it a little bit, Matt Howard, but why don't you give a little flavor of what kind of music you like listening to?
I'm an indie kid. I like The Smiths, The Cure. That's it. Those are the only music I like.
Yeah, I don't listen to a ton of music. I kind of cherry pick songs that I like, and it's a very wide range of genres. But I don't listen to that much music. I'm kind of weird in that way. I much prefer things like radio or something just in the background rather than music.
Okay, since both of you have mentioned you've played games, it sounds like you've played games. What's your favorite game of all time?
Oh, we've got a real question from
oh,
G
sorry. Yeah, okay, yeah. Can you give intuition on curing? Where does the term come from?
It's actually an existing term. If you type it into Google, you'll get a Wikipedia article that will give you a good history on it. I think I'm pretty sure I'm remembering that Mr. Curry was a man who existed in the past. So yeah, we've not invented currying. That was something that already existed. We sort of stumbled upon it. Richard mentioned this when I was working with him. Early on, there was a lot of us reinventing concepts that we were like thinking was pioneering, and then finding out about existing concepts and then going, oh, we've just reinvented currying. We've just reinvented the Y Combinator. Like I wrote a template for recursion and I was like, I'm a genius. I've just wrote the first ever thing that allows you to do recursion. And then no, this is a well-studied field. All of this stuff already has names.
By the way, it's Richard Kiss, not me. If people want to know, there's a genius Richard, and I'm the not so genius Richard. So
there's also just as how currying works. The short of it is kind of the way that I explain it in my tutorials is that when you write a puzzle, you probably have some constants in there that you want. So because otherwise every puzzle is the same if there are no unique constants to you. You can define those via def constant, but if you do it that way, other puzzles aren't going to be able to do this currying in your puzzle. So what we do is basically take the puzzle and wrap it in like a little teeny tiny outer puzzle that feeds it some solution values. So the solution values are committed to in the puzzle hash. So it's basically like defining some constants that you, the puzzle maker, or it's defining some solution values that you, the puzzle maker, solve rather than the person who is solving the coin.
That's how we use it. We use it to fill in like templates. The more formal definition of currying is it's like plugging the holes in a function. So a function that takes 5 parameters, you can curry in 2 things, and then you'll have a new function that only takes in 3 and will have filled those holes already. So any references to those input will be constant in your curried version of that. I think of it as like plugging a hole and then putting a constant in where a variable was before.
If you look at any of our reference code, all of the variable names that are capital are the ones that have been curried in.
Cool. That was our last question. So I want to end with the slide again to just remind people that if you have follow-up questions, come to Keybase and go join our Chialisp channel. We're there answering questions anytime you have them. I think we have enough people to cover 24/7. If not, we'll get an answer within a day for sure. And then we have one more Q&A session that'll come up later, and you can find that particular Zoom link on chialisp.com/training. So with that, thank you very much for everybody joining us today, and we hope to see you in the community. So have a good one. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.